Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Sayyid Farooq Hassan is back with a new episode of Sky is the Limit. You must have noticed that all the guests that I try and bring to you in this program are multitaskers. These are people with high IQs. These are people who have achieved a lot in their lives, and they happily share their life's journey with all of you. The purpose is only one: to inspire the youngsters, to instigate them, to motivate them to do something better for the society, for their country. Today, I have yet another high achiever in my program. I'm sure you'll be glad to meet her. She was an amazing student, a gold medalist. She's been a parliamentarian. She has been a senator, and she's still continuing her unending journey. She is right now the chairperson of the National Commission on the Rights of Child. Let's meet Senator Ayesha Raza Farooq. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Aisha, such a pleasure. I've been trying to chase you for a long time, and finally we sit down.
My apologies, I know.
I know you are a very busy person, but Aisha, I was going through your profile and looking at your academic career. You were an A student, a gold medalist, and went to the best universities. Went to LUMS, did your law degree. Then you came into politics, which again is a very tough field, especially for women. Lately, we've seen a lot of females, enterprising females, who've stepped into politics. But I think 2 decades back, that was not the case. And then you served as an MNA, and then you were a senator, and now you are heading this National Commission on Rights of Child. So let's share your journey with the viewers. Where did it all start? Where were you born? How many siblings? Which school did you go to? Can you kindly elaborate?
So first, I think at the outset, I'd like to thank you. It's a pleasure to be on your program. So I'm born in Lahore, spent all my life there.
Hardcore Lahori?
A hardcore Lahori, you could call me that.
Okay.
I went to the Lahore Grammar School. I am one of 4 siblings. I have an older brother, then I have a twin sister.
Oh, okay.
And a younger sister.
Okay.
So in school, Lahore Grammar School was a new school when I went there. The class sizes were very small, so my twin and I were together always in the same class.
Is she your identical twin?
She's, so we're fraternal biologically, but we look very similar. Okay. So we were constantly, teachers would confuse between the two of us.
That's what I'm saying. So if you didn't do your homework, she would get scolded.
At times, at times. But I don't think we exploited it as much as we could have.
We could have.
So I did my senior Cambridge from grammar school. I was very studious. I think, in my house, my parents always made sure that we could get everything that we asked for, provided that we paid attention to our studies, did well there. So I belong to a house where studies came first, always.
Always.
And so I topped in my senior Cambridge examination, and then went to Kinnaird College.
Okay.
From where I did my undergrad. And onwards to the Lahore University of Management Sciences, which was a new university. My older brother had gone to the same also. So I was the second from my family to go there. And interestingly, my younger sister also went to LUMS. Oh. So out of the 4 of us, 3 graduates from LUMS, while my twin sister went on to become a doctor, and she followed my mother's footsteps. Okay. Who's a doctor. She's a retired professor, head of the department from pathology from Fatma Jinnah Medical College. So we have a lot of doctors in the family, but I chose to depart from that route. And well, I did my MBA from LUMS, then entered the private sector, taught at the Lahore School of Economics for many years. Before I entered politics and before I did my undergrad law. Okay.
So let's go back to your school days. Were you a naughty kid or one of those sober ones who avoids any kind of naughtiness or like doing things which can upset the norms?
Well, I think if you ask my friends, they tell you that I could be naughty at times, but I think generally I was the teacher's pet because I was a well-behaved, a very studious child. Yeah.
Okay. And what about extracurricular? Were you good in sports?
We did lots of sports back in our school days. So the grammar school was small in terms of its premises, but we would swim also. We played netball, table tennis, participated in all inter-school competitions. We were active in dramatics also. So, you know, we would do our school plays. There was debates also. So yes, it was a little bit of everything in school
So it was
days.
not just studies, it was a whole package actually.
Yes, and I was also captain of my sports house, which was called Kestrel then.
Okay.
So, you know, you'd contest an election in your senior most last year of school. So I was house
so
captain
you had that
for my
in you
sports.
right from school.
A bit of that also, yes. Tried my best, absolutely.
Okay. And after your O levels, or you did O levels, right?
Well, it was called Senior Cambridge then
Senior
because the
Cambridge.
board was different, yeah,
Good.
but similar thing, yeah.
So who decided that you want to do MBA or law, or you want to become a doctor or an engineer? What did you want to do in life?
You know, Farooq, I really wanted at that time to travel abroad for my studies. But then it wasn't so much the done
Common
thing.
or-
It wasn't very common. So Kinnaid was the best choice available then.
Okay.
For one's undergrad, and I enjoyed Kinnaid thoroughly. You know, I was a part of the Kinnaid College netball team also, and we were actively participating in dramatics there. I enjoyed my time at Kinnaid very much. And then LUMS was a new university, and they at the time only had the Suleiman Dawood Business School. And because my brother had been there also, they had, in collaboration with the Harvard Business School, brought in the semester system of education. So it was very new, it was very talked about.
In Lahore it was new.
In Lahore, absolutely. So, I mean, I wasn't at the time very sure what I wanted to study.
So you were just studying?
I was just studying. My mother was very keen that I do medicine,
Okay.
but I didn't pursue biology in college. So, you know, when one dropped biology, you close your options for medicine after that. I was good in maths. I like numbers a lot.
You were a number cruncher?
I
very
was.
rare.
I still like numbers, and I taught later on accounting and marketing research also. Both subjects have to do a lot with numbers.
In Lahore School of Economics?
In the Lahore School of Economics later on. So yes, that's how I decided to study finance and marketing at the Lahore University of Management Sciences.
Okay. Who was your inspiration or role model while you were growing up? Was it your brother, elder brother, your father, your mother, your sisters?
Both my parents, to be honest.
Okay.
My mother being a female, you know, I saw my mother striking that right balance between work life and her home. And I tell you, you know, she managed both things and struck that balance so well. She was very good in her profession also, took that very seriously, and she managed her home, raised us, gave us time that we wanted to. So I think when we were growing up, we were very sure that we had to work, do some serious work, not just get a degree and sit at home.
Okay.
So from the professional side, I think my mother is the one who inspired us. And as a person to be, you know, in our relations with others, whether it was family, relatives, domestic staff, compassion, empathy, my father played a huge role there. He was very, very involved in our upbringing.
What profession was he into?
So my father sat for the civil servant service exam, and he entered the income tax department.
Oh.
But he resigned very early because, again, for his children, because he thought he was being posted around so much that his children could not go to one particular school. However, he then pursued tax consultancy till he retired himself from it. So, you know, from his side, you know, in your dealings with others, professional dealings, being compassionate, looking out for others, helping others, that huge part my father played in our upbringing.
Wow.
So both inspired me equally, really.
So you did your college from Kinnaid, and then you got admission into MBA, as you said, and you said your tenure at LUMS was very good. You really thoroughly enjoyed, and I'm sure you were on the dean's list. You're a gold medalist, and in your bachelor's also you got a gold medal. So you must be the one, you know, who every student would be envying, or siblings even would be like, she makes us work very hard. Is that the case?
My siblings were equally studious and very high achievers. So my twin sister she's a doctor, medical doctor, she's a PhD doctor, and she has many other master's degrees to her credit. So I think in our household everyone was really
so that was
a high
a norm.
achiever.
So getting gold medal wasn't a...
It was, yeah, it kind of a norm there. But at LUMS was a very different experience. You know, it was one of its kind institution in Pakistan. You know, we used to study past midnight every day. We had work assignments that had to be submitted at a certain time. And my parents were a little used to it because my brother had been to the university before me. Otherwise, my colleagues, female colleagues who were with me, had their parents dropping in the middle of the night to check what their kids were doing at the campus.
What were they doing at 3 a.m.?
You know, it wasn't the norm. It was never the done thing in Pakistan to be studying like that. So we learned a lot. We had very, very good faculty. I think a lot of what I am today has a lot to do with my training at LUMS, whether it's our interpersonal skills, whether it's time management, whether it's hard work, whether it's multitasking, are things that LUMS taught me. All these values of dealing with all kinds of people, which helped me later on in my professional life. I think LUMS has a large part to play there.
Those are the perks of going to a good university.
A good university with a good mix of students from all over Pakistan. So that taught me
how to
quite
deal
a
with
bit.
different cultures.
Absolutely. We had people, I hadn't gone outside Lahore, my cozy comfort zone, and there was very little interaction in Kinnaid also from students from outside Lahore or Punjab, but that kind of interaction or exposure one got at LUMS really. And when I finished LUMS, actually when I entered LUMS, I got engaged right away.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, after 2 years when the idea was, the deal was that, you know, I'd get married only after I finish my graduation, my studies. And I had a job ready, which was with the Law School of Economics. So I thought academics...
As a professor?
As an assistant, yeah, well, as a lecturer first, and then went on to become assistant professor there. And I was teaching subjects like accounting and marketing research.
So right after your MBA, you joined as a lecturer?
I was a fresh graduate when I joined the Law School of Economics, and they gave me a lot of flexibility to design my course. We had a very small cohort of students initially that I was teaching, and you know, there were times I would take them outside and sit on the lawn to conduct a tutorial or an exercise or a discussion. So it was very nice. I tried to emulate things that I had learned as a student at LUMS, you know, some of case studies over here. And I found the bunch of students at the Lahore School very, very dedicated, very bright, and very committed also.
Okay.
And I enjoyed teaching for many years at the Lahore School of Economics. And I think teaching is very fulfilling. You know, you are, it's such an important part of a student's life, college life is, that we forget what a crucial and critical role teachers can play in a student's life. Not just the academic side, but otherwise also. So every time you'll start a lecture with a, you know, a quotation or a news headline from the news, talk about that, talk about current affairs a little bit.
Thinking out of the box, basically.
That's right. And Farooq, is interesting that, you know, at the end of every semester at the Lahore School of Economics, there would be an anonymous evaluation done. That the students would assess you, but they wouldn't sign off their names. And for many years, I got comments of being one of the strictest teachers at LSE. You know, sometimes one comment I can never forget is, so one student said, she is the Hitler, Lady Hitler at LSE. So it's very funny, and this same student then came back to me once she'd graduated and
told that
and working,
I was the one
and
who
she said, you know, madam, I called you the Lady Hitler, but you know what we've learned from you, we've applied the most in our life later on.
I hope you haven't created more Hitlers.
Time will tell, really. But I mean, I never minded that at all, because to be a committed teacher, to give it your best, and to drive your students to do their best, you know, that is what gave me...
Discipline is very important in life. Absolutely. And, you know, being focused and achieving your goals, that's a very integral part of your life. You should be very focused.
That is true, and I try to do my best, and I always feel that whatever role one's given, one should do justice to it, whether as a teacher, in politics, as a parent, you should do your part, play your part best to deliver.
Great. So you joined as a lecturer and you were supposed to get married after your MBA as soon as you
That's right,
finished.
which
So
I did, yeah.
you got married and you were teaching at the same time,
Yeah.
right? So then what happened? How many years did you teach at Lahore School of Economics?
So I taught for many years from a fresh graduate up till 2013.
And you decided that this is what you want to do. You want to be a teacher all your life.
Well, I was enjoying myself, yes.
Okay.
So my husband, who was a lawyer, who also went on to become the Advocate General Punjab, encouraged me, tried to entice me a lot to join his practice and to do my law also.
Oh, okay.
But I always never took up that offer
You never
because
had the flair for being a...
I thought then I didn't, and I was very happy with the profession that I had, till I unfortunately lost my husband in 2010.
Okay.
When our only son was 10 years old, and just for emotional reasons, I went on to do law. So, you know, that is when I decided, I think primarily for emotional reasons, that I had to continue with his legacy.
Okay.
He worked very hard to set up his office. And my in-laws, you know, my father-in-law was the late Attorney General for Pakistan. And
So they were all into this legal
so
profession.
the legal fraternity has a lot of legacy there.
So you took it up as a challenge that you had no background of doing law to becoming a lawyer.
That's right. And I just enrolled myself with the Punjab Law College. You know, they were affiliated with the Punjab University in their evening law program, because I was teaching in the daytime at the Law School of Economics. And I think that was a great time because I had, you know, I huge loss to deal with.
And to take care of your child.
My son, well, to be honest, I wasn't in that alone. I was very, very fortunate. I think you know, if there's one word that I use over and over again is gratitude. So I'm so grateful to Allah, to my own family, to my in-laws, who really encouraged me and who stood by me, are still there for me. They're my family.
I'm sure it must have been a very tough phase, like studying a new faculty, which is law, teaching at Law School of Economics, then obviously your family life.
It was, but you know, looking back, I think I managed pretty well. It helped me. It helped me a lot cope with my loss, with my grief and suffering, and gave me a purpose for the short term at least. And it helped with my son also, who saw a strong mother deal with her loss. It helped him deal with his loss much better. And I think because I had nothing better to do, I studied so much day and night. I topped each of the 3 consecutive years in the university in my undergrad. And interestingly, Raza, my late husband, had also topped in his Punjab University LLB.
The legacy.
So yeah, I did. And in my Lahore office, we have both gold medals framed and hanging side by side together. Raza, of course, had gone on to do his LLM from Harvard and then joined the profession when he came back. But so I did my law, and that's when general elections were around the corner.
You're talking about 2013?
13, that's right. So 2010 to 13, I did 3 years undergrad. And then elections were around the corner, and my in-laws are very closely affiliated with the PMLN. They were their lawyers also. And although my own family is my parents' family was very apolitical, but in my in-laws' family, very, very political, very, very involved with the PMLN. And so we would have our dining table, dinner room discussions, you know, around politics. And this is where I thought that, you know, we complain a lot sitting in drawing rooms. You know, me and my friends and my generation would, that, you know, this is what needs to be rectified, corrected. And I said, why don't we, if given a chance, play a more active part and do as much as we can? So the party was interviewing new faces. That is when I was introduced to the leaders of the party, and a round of interviews were held. I had just won my gold medal from the university. I had graduated in a LLB also, and I was lucky to be given the opportunity to join the National Assembly on a reserved seat.
Okay, so
in 2013.
You became a parliamentarian in 2013. All right, okay. So that was a totally different foray that you were stepping into, and I'm sure you would have been very apprehensive also, because you must have seen the National Assembly only on television before entering the hall. How did that 5-year experience teach you?
So I was overwhelmed entering these houses of parliament, and I was considered myself very fortunate also. We were lucky at that time. Mariam Nawaz Sharif Saiba had joined the party, so the party was encouraging a lot of female representation. And in 2013, a lot of new faces, younger, more educated, different representatives of the masses came and joined the National Assembly. So it was a little overwhelming, but I think we got a lot of respect, a lot of encouragement from the party, from our seniors. But interestingly, I spent only 2 years as member National Assembly.
Okay.
And in 2016, when the Senate elections were around the corner, that's when my party leadership asked me to move to the Senate.
They decided to upgrade you.
In hindsight, it seems like an upgradation, but then I was kind of a little apprehensive as to why am I going from a more representative house, directly elected, to a house where I thought the average age was much higher and seemed like more of a retirement plan for me.
You are going from House of Commons to House of Lords.
It's right. Yeah. So, but I tell you, I enjoyed the Senate thoroughly.
More than your National Assembly?
More than my 2 years in the National Assembly, because I was among giants, giants from all political parties.
A lot of learning.
A lot of learning. There were senior people. The debate there was a different level altogether. I was lucky. I had Raza Farooq as chairman.
You were part of so many standing committees, I remember.
I was, standing committees like Finance, Law and Justice, Health, Foreign Affairs. I was also the leader of the PMLN in our house of the Senate was Raja Zafrul Haq then. He encouraged me a lot. Raza Farooq as chairman did also. So did all other members from across both sides of the aisle, I'd say. And I was heading 2 committees there also. So one committee I was chairing in the Senate was the Committee on Delegated Legislation.
Okay.
And the other was the Committee on Rules of Procedure and Privileges. So one was a technical committee, the other committee was different, but in both I learned a lot. And I must appreciate all senators there from all political parties who gave me a lot of respect. And I left and retired from the Senate in 2021. I say much richer in the kinds of friendships that I made and bonds that I retired with, and I'm actively in touch with all of them till now.
Till now. But the title senator stays with your name forever.
Apparently, yes.
That I'm sure you know about that. So what I've noticed, Senator Saiba, there's much more harmony amongst senators as compared to parliamentarians sitting in National Assembly. Why is that? We see a lot of in-house jabs and banters in National Assembly, but in Senate everything is peaceful and everyone is there for the other person.
It used to be like that. So the first 3 years of my Senate was exactly like you say. The relationship between Treasury benches and opposition benches were much more cordial than the noise and the polarization that you saw in the National Assembly. But that changed when the PTI government came into power, and I call that unfortunate. I think if you have to work as a legislator, whether as a member National Assembly or a senator, for the benefit or the greater noble cause, whether it's education, health, economics, you have to balance your differences at some point to be able to work together, to legislate, make policy, by working with opposition also.
As a common Pakistani, I would say that we expect, because all our parliamentarians are very extremely respectable, they are representing the public, the common man of Pakistan. All of them. So it doesn't matter which constituency you are from. So the issues of people of Pakistan are more or less the same, generic across Pakistan. So if that body is working for the issues of Pakistan, then they should all be on the same platform, regardless of the party affiliation or political differences. Anyways, that's another long debate. Coming back to your stint in Senate, which standing committee do you think was the most interesting part of your stay there, or where you learned the most, or where you contributed the most?
I was fortunate to be a part of many important and interesting committees. Finance was one. You know how, although the Senate of Pakistan does not directly or cannot directly give inputs into the finance bill. I mean, they can make recommendations as a body to the National Assembly, which may or may not accept those recommendations. But the entire exercise of the budgetary process, as a member of the Finance Committee, you were a part of, which was very interesting. So the committee sat day and night looking at the finance bill, analyzing. So you learned a lot as a member of how the finance bill is made, what is an SRO, what implication does it have, and then you have all kinds of different sectors in the economy coming and meeting you, pitching for how it should be changed,
getting
amended.
a lot of input.
That's right. And it's interesting, a lot of learning there, and a lot of value addition personally and at a professional level. Then the other committee was health, and as you know, I was heading the Pakistan Polio program. So that gave me a good opportunity to look into, the health sector and what are different ways in which you can help, whether it's the DRAP as an institution, whether it's regulating prices, medical colleges, etc. Again, you feel that you can directly impact the lives of the masses in Pakistan. So that was a lot to learn from. Foreign Affairs was a completely different committee to learn from. So I think each one gave me a good sort
of value addition.
Absolutely, insight into how things are done here. Yeah.
And during your time at the National Assembly as a parliamentarian member, National Assembly, were there any bills or any initiatives that you took that you would like to mention?
One bill that was very close to my heart, which I thought of and we drafted as part of the polio program, was on compulsory immunization. Pakistan is lagging behind, or has been a polio endemic country for a very long time. The Pakistan government runs a free of cost immunization program. It's called the Expanded Program of Immunization, where we give, the government of Pakistan gives vaccines, drops to protect children from vaccine preventable diseases.
And they send teams also, I think.
For the polio program,
yes.
They send teams door to door all over Pakistan. But interestingly, despite this free of cost program, we saw a reluctance on the demand side.
Or the acceptability of the program.
That's right. Not well accepted, people are not coming forward, and we thought it's time to bring on a bill and to hold parents responsible. Because if you give birth to a child, you as a parent should also be made responsible for that child's health, upbringing, and so forth. And the state is doing its job, and maybe they need to improve on it, but it's providing you with an opportunity of this immunization program. So why are you not coming forward and taking advantage of it? And risking not just your child's health, but also risking other children in the neighborhood and in schools who are studying with your under-immunized child here.
So you tabled that bill?
So I tabled that bill in the Senate, and it's a long story. So it was unanimously approved by the Senate, went to the National Assembly, and just a day or two before it was to be produced before the National Assembly, there's a time limit of bills here, it lapsed. Then the new assembly came, then we tabled it again, but unfortunately, that's where I blame political parties of that time, the government of PTI, for being very populist in terms of talking a lot about children's health, but not helping a bill that was proposed by an opposition, a member from the opposition, and taking it forward.
It didn't get approved?
So it never was. No, it never was. No, unfortunately.
I must tell you that Senator Aisha has also been the focal person for polio eradication in Pakistan and Prime Minister's focal person. So that's a place where she worked very closely with the Prime Minister in eradicating one menace that has really put Pakistan in a lot of trouble. Most of the times we try and get over it, and then it erupts again, and it keeps on happening over and over again. So we're going to talk about that, but right now we're going to take a short break. Don't go. Welcome back to Sky is the Limit. I am in conversation with Senator Ayesha Raza Farooq, and we are talking about everything under the sun. Senator Aisha, you were the Prime Minister's focal person on polio eradication. Now, as far as I understand, Pakistan is perhaps amongst the only 2 countries left in the whole wide world who still have polio cases, and we came to almost 0, and then it keeps on erupting again and again. you were the focal person for 5 years. So tell me your stint there, what did you do, what were the positive initiatives, and why still we are back to square one? All yours.
So I was a member National Assembly when the Prime Minister of the time, Mia Mohammad Nawaz Sharif, gave me this portfolio in December 2013 to head the Pakistan Polio program. And interestingly, the year following, or the first year of my appointment, which was 2014, Pakistan reported the highest number of cases ever in its polio eradication history.
How many were there?
306.
Okay. All
And
over the
that
country.
accounted for, that's right, that accounted for the highest case burden globally. Then there were 3 countries which are polio endemic. So there was Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Nigeria. And in the, till now, Nigeria has been able to eradicate. Pakistan and Afghanistan are the 2 countries that remain and are called polio endemic countries. So the challenges then were different from what we're facing today.
Okay.
At that time, our tribal areas were inaccessible to our teams. Our teams could not go there and inoculate against polio vaccination. They were hard to reach areas. There were fatwas had been given at the time.
Yeah, there was a religious issue.
So a lot of misconceptions around the Pakistan polio program, religious issues. It was a political issue, a security issue, and a health issue. So not just a health issue. And then, our polio teams were being routinely targeted. Many of them gave up their life, the ultimate sacrifice of their life also, and yet they continued coming back, people from their families, to protect children against this debilitating disease, which is polio. But we worked very hard with the help of our partners, with the help of all political parties then. And I must add here that polio was a program that was given direct supervision by the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Mia Nawaz Sharif Sahab, and he categorically told me not to play politics here, to keep it apolitical. So although we were dealing with PTI in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa at the time, we were working with PPP in Sindh, and PMLN in the center and Punjab, and we had an alliance in Balochistan.
Yes.
Yet I had instructions from the highest office of the Prime Minister that we must eradicate polio, and irrespective of how bad relatively a province was doing, not to highlight it too much, but work together as one team, and that is what we did. So when people laud our achievement from 2013 to 18, because we were able to reduce our cases from 306 in 2014 to just 2 in July 2018 when I left the program, and restricted to 1 district of Balochistan.
Okay.
And the genetic sequencing and other things, that the epidemiology of the disease looked very promising also. And we were not saying this about ourselves, but international organizations, our technical support organizations who were evaluating our program were saying that Pakistan is set to interrupt transmission in 2018.
Wow.
However, new government came in, elections came, you had I think someone who replaced me at the time really changed the program for the worse.
So you were working on a focused approach whereby you brought it down from 300 plus to only 2.
To just 2.
So it was a focused approach, and if given more time, you could have brought it to a sustainable 0.
We were very optimistic, Farooq. So a couple of things that we did differently was, one, move directly to scientific and evidence-based decision making. So the program was not relying on what Ayesha Raza wanted to do as the head here, but we relied on data. So we were collecting a lot of real-time data, re-evaluating our strategies. What is it that we need to do differently? We changed the communication strategy, and we brought our foot soldiers, our brave polio workers at the forefront of the program. So we built an entire strategy around them so that they were given the respect when they went and knocked every door in Pakistan. And then, so on the communication strategy, we changed. We set up national emergency operations centers that had all our partners sitting under one roof, led by the government. So it became a government-focused program, not a partner-focused program. This was done to build more trust around it. And this helped us coordinate better with our provinces and our teams. And we would start with an early morning meeting. We would talk about problems and build trust here, to say that, hey, if something is going wrong in Rajanpur, or going wrong in Dukki, or going wrong in Landi Kotal, you know, that is my problem. I will take responsibility. And you know, that helped people at the grassroots level talk about problems openly and not cover them up or hide them. So we said, please stop fake finger marking, because if you are going to do fake finger marking showing that we are vaccinating every child with these polio drops, the virus is not going to hide, it's going to show up and show that the program is not doing a good job. So slowly and gradually we changed systems, you know, built a strategy, changed the entire way the program was run. And it is the same emergency operations centers that helped the country during the recent pandemic also, in the COVID. In collecting real-time data, in the network that we'd created, in sort of coordinating with the provinces and union council level. So a lot of good things that happened. So the polio assets that we built, the idea was that this legacy would help the country move forward in the same positive trajectory. But now, in hindsight, I feel that people who are sitting at the helm of affairs also make a huge difference. And that is where I feel that whether it's health, education, at least on these two things, there should be no politics. And I don't need to take you back to 2018 and 19 to see that the person who replaced me, what kind of havoc he played with the polio program and what damage he did to the credibility that had been built at the international level and the national regional level by the polio program. Not just by me, but by all political parties who helped forge you know, onwards, march onwards as far as the Pakistan polio journey was concerned.
How many cases do we have right now?
I'm not very privy, not too many, but see, in Pakistan, in polio, one case is too many. One case is too many, which requires us to have synchronized campaigns all over the country so that you leave no one behind, because even one under-immunized or unimmunized child can shed the virus, which can spread like wildfire, and so you got to keep going till you've eradicated it completely.
So somewhat on the same lines as COVID prevention that we did. COVID was very much transmittable, but I think polio is probably not as.
Well, polio became endemic, right? And the danger with polio is in the international stage, while the world has eradicated smallpox, the world globally is very close to eradicating polio, and thus the interest that they're taking in the program. Because if this virus is transmitted outside to countries who don't have polio as a part of their vaccine drives, they will have to invest very heavily to control the virus, because it spreads very, very quickly.
Great. And you gave in all your submissions to actually eradicate it fully from the country before you signed off.
Ji, bilkul. We left a program, we left a legacy in terms of an emergency operations center, in terms of scientific teams, technically run and managed program. But it's unfortunate, of course, the new government that came, what they did was unfortunate, and of course then pandemic, COVID hit also, which really was a setback. It took the foot off the accelerator and gave importance or preference to another disease, which was at the time, of course, more pressing and more demanding.
Great. So, so Aisha, after your role as the focal person, Prime Minister's focal person on polio eradication, then you got a slight break, I think about 2 years or 3 years, and then you were called back again and made the chairperson of the National Commission on the Rights of Child. So what did you do in the break? First tell me that, and then what prompted you to take on this, another very, very daunting and very, very challenging role?
So 2018 is when I signed off from the Pakistan polio program, because it was the prerogative of the new government to nominate, appoint their own focal person. But I remained a member of the Senate till 2021.
Okay.
And
so no breaks.
So no breaks till then. I was actively part of the Senate and the committees. That's when I was heading the committees on rules of procedure and privileges. But when I finished my term of the Senate in 2021, I moved back to my home city of Lahore, and the Lahore School of Economics called me back to start
We've been missing
teaching.
you for the last 10 years.
Yeah, so I was absent for 8 years,
8 years,
to be precise. So I went back, and this time I didn't teach accounting and research, but took on a new subject, which was business law, because I thought it combined my most recent degree of law with my earlier business education degree. And that I enjoyed teaching also. And in the course, the initial few lectures dealt with teaching students about our constitution, about rule of law, about how Pakistan's parliamentary system works. And so I could use my share my first-hand experience with the students. So it was very interesting. And then, of course, the course talked about and went on to talk about contract law and forms of business organization, etc. So taught that for a very short while, because then I was asked by the last Prime Minister, Shehbaz Sharif. I was appointed as the chairperson, National Commission on the Rights of Child. This is a nascent commission. It is an independent statutory commission that was formed as a result of the National Commission on the Rights of Child Act 2017.
Okay.
Pakistan is a signatory to the UN Convention on the Rights of Child. We are the earliest signatories. We ratified this convention in 1990. And it was only in 2017 that we passed this act, as a result of which this commission was formed. So the first commission completed its tenure early this year. It's a 3-year tenure, and we are the second commission only which has taken charge here.
Okay, great. And when you were called by the Prime Minister to take on this role, what were your thoughts?
I've worked with a lot of passion for polio.
Yeah.
Polio is still very dear to me. It's very close to my heart.
We still remember you by that, and you got awarded Sitara Imtiaz also by the government of Pakistan, acknowledging your efforts.
That's right. And I dedicated that award, rightly so, to people who brought us to where Pakistan was in 2018, our brave polio workers.
Yes.
And I still talk about them everywhere where I talk about polio, because, this program made me privy to the kind of commitment and passion and capacity Pakistan has in terms of our human resource, our people. We have such committed people, Farooq. I have seen examples of where one family lost their sister to polio work, to violence here, and the next morning another family member would turn up for polio duty.
It happens only in Pakistan.
Where do you see anything like that happening? And there's a lot of debate on how much we're compensating them for this work. And I tell people, no amount, no compensation is big enough for the risk these polio workers have taken in Pakistan to travel the length and breadth of the country, to knock at every door, to sort of overcome climatic hardships, be it rain, snow, all kinds of terrain, desert, wading through waters, flood waters, climbing mountains in snow, knee-deep snow. These workers are everywhere.
You cannot quantify it. You cannot put a price tag on security, safety, or life of a person.
You can't. So the Sitara Imtiaz was, I was very fortunate to be leading the program at the time, but was dedicated, and I still always dedicated to the brave polio workers and the teams who helped us, bring the cases down at the time from 306 down to just 2 when I left the program. So polio was very close to my heart, the children of Pakistan very close to my heart. So when I was given this opportunity, I accepted it very gladly. I knew what the challenges would be at the time, but I think when I took over and I spent the first month or two understanding what it required.
Yeah, what's the scope of this commission? What are the TORs? What are the responsibilities?
Okay, so I'll just in a minute tell you what the mandate is, but I was very, very overwhelmed. It's very, very daunting, and I take home every night stories of some child I've seen, a child story, usually not pleasant, that I take home, and it keeps me awake at night. And we're trying to do our best, and I hope we can make a difference like we were able to for the polio program also. But coming back to our role, our functions, our mandate, so Section 15 of the National Commission on the Rights of Child Act 2017 gives our functions. Broadly, I'll club them in 4 areas, under 4 broad areas. One is of policy and legislation, where we are recommending or advising to the federal government, to provincial governments and governmental bodies on how we can change, amend the legislation, give them policy recommendations to make our laws in sync with the international UNCRC that we've ratified, to make laws homogeneous within the country. You'd be privy to the fact that in Pakistan, the Child Marriage Restraint Act and the minimum age for a girl child is different in Sindh, 18 years, but all across other parts of the country it's only 16. For boys it's 18, but for girls it's 16. So we want to bring some uniformity there. But what we can do is just recommend and advise and use our force, our platform to work with governments.
You cannot enforce.
Civil society, no. We unfortunately do not have the executive responsibility there. And we don't even want to go there because we don't want to make parallel structures. You know, governments, executive government is there for that particular role. Legislative bodies are there. That's the entire debate that we see in the country right now. What are the roles of different organs of state? And I'm very, very clear that we should do our role only and not transgress into others' roles. So one is our work regarding policy advice and legislative advice and recommendations to governments. The other is to create advocacy and awareness around child rights issues to ensure that we protect, promote and fulfill child rights. And the 4 broad groups that you have under child rights are protection, there is survival, there is development, and then there is one 4th one that I'm forgetting right now. So we got to advocate, raise our voice, create awareness around these issues. The 3rd is to inquire into violations of child rights. And there we have powers of a civil court. We can summon any data, any person to inquire into you know what happened, what child abuse cases we see every day. And the 4th is to steer research, to encourage research, to ensure that whatever policy briefs or recommendations we are drafting, they are based scientific on evidence-based decision making we can do. So this is the mandate we have. And recently, you know, we've seen some very horrific examples of child domestic.
Over the last 2-3 months, I think a lot of cases have been reported in the media, some involving very high-profile individuals who have, you know, been cruel to child labor. So, why are the cases increasing, or is it just that they're being brought to light now?
I think the child domestic labor cases that we've just recently seen, there is one of the Rizwana case in ICT, you know, right here in our capital city here, where allegedly a civil judge's wife was responsible, one for employing an underage girl, which the Domestic Workers Act in Islamabad prohibits. 2, of torture and cruelty to a child. I visited that child myself, and I cannot fathom how one human can do this to another and leave alone to a young child here. The way she was being beaten up cannot be explained. You know, it brings me to tears every time I think about it. So we're raising our voice. We're constantly in touch with law enforcement agencies. We were at the time with the police also that we must have a crisp, a timely medical legal examination done, a medical legal certificate made for a good trial to be conducted. See, you've got to have proper evidence for a strong trial later on also. So our commission also feels, and we recommended a draft law to ban child domestic labor, which is part of our mandate, to say that child domestic labor should be made non-bailable and a non-compoundable offense. What you see happening in your country is when the powerful or the well-connected break the law, like we just saw in Rizwana's case, they get easy bail and they are able to go for an out-of-court settlement because these offenses right now are compoundable. These families who are the victims here belong to a poor sector of the economy, they're very humble background, and they happily at times, when the case drags on for a while, go for an out-of-court settlement, and that is what we want to break. I feel we need strong laws, but we need better, stronger enforcement also and implementation.
So hopefully we'll see that before the 3 years of your term ends.
I hope so. So where, as I said, we cannot enforce by ourselves. We will recommend to the legislators
And
that
it's
this
up to
law
them to take it up.
should be enacted. And I hope they will, for the sake of the children and to ensure that they get justice against these horrendous crimes that we see right now. So child domestic labor is one part of it. The Commission is very proactively working on child marriage, on supporting advocacy awareness around it. We are looking at how we can have advocacy sessions with religious scholars, get their support, with pediatricians, with caregivers, with parents, go down to communities. So we're doing that. Then on the protection side, we're also looking at street children, how we can get them off the road. Looking at out of schools. Pakistan has one of the largest out of school population.
Yeah.
We are looking at birth registration, which is one of the lowest in the world, I think.
Yeah.
So these lot of new births and these children, kids are not registered. How can you plan for them
Yes.
if they're not registered and
True.
not on the radar? So a lot of good things we're planning to do, but our real test would be how many checks we can get
Yeah.
across all this that we're.
But that's great, Aisha, doing a great job. So proud of you. Unfortunately, we have paucity of time, and much as I would have liked you to continue and talk more on these issues, very sensitive issues, we have to wrap up. But before we do that, I'd just like you to speak to the youngsters of Pakistan, the youth of Pakistan, to everyone who's watching this program. You've had, you've achieved a lot in your life, and you've had your highs and lows. You've had your share of struggles. You've had your share of extreme hard work, but it's been rewarding. You're a gold medalist, you got Sitara Imtiaz, you've served on various sensitive and important assignments and delivered and achieved. So I'd like you to share a message of your life's journey with the youth of Pakistan, and how would you like to inspire them?
Thank you. So, Farooq, I think talking to the youth of my country, I'd like them always, irrespective of what challenges, difficulties, lows you face in life, two things you must always keep close to you, two words. One's gratitude, and the second is hope. So be grateful, irrespective of whatever challenges you're facing, for whatever you have. And count your blessings.
Yeah.
Our religion says the same also, that look at those who are less privileged than you. And that only will make you grateful for what you have. The second is a hope, and that comes from believing in yourself. So irrespective of your circumstances, never lose hope. Believe in yourself, and before you complain and question what others are doing for you, ask yourself this question: what are you doing for yourself and for your country? So give back to your country, to your society, to your communities, and try and play as small a part as you can. It all starts with one drop in the ocean. And I think that's the message I'd like to leave for the youth of my country.
Very, very well said, Aisha, and absolutely correct. You spoke about having faith, never giving up, the hope part, and absolutely, there are highs and lows in everyone's life, in nations' lives for that matter, but we need to keep the hope, and we need to keep the struggle, work hard, and that is the only way we can overcome that low and come to a high. Thank you very much, Aisha. Inshallah ta'ala, we'll be seeing you somewhere else. Viewers, I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Senator Ayesha Raza Farooq. With this, we come to the end of this episode of Sky is the Limit. Inshallah, I will see you with another exciting guest in another episode of Sky is the Limit. Till then, Allah Hafiz.